This is Chris K with your Peak Fitness straight leg deadlift progression. And really the difference between the straight leg deadlift and the deadlift is the straight leg deadlift is literally just a hip hinge. So we're hinging from the hips only, maybe a slight 20-degree knee bend, but even less than in the deadlift. And in order to teach this, what I want to do is just place a stick on the client's back. All right, I'm just going to ask them to hinge forward from the hips and come back. Really the main thing that we're looking for here is that the stick remains in 3 points of contact. So the middle of the back, top of the head, and the sacrum or the tailbone here. And again, what I'm looking for is the ability to bend forward until the client's back starts to round off the stick. That's kind of the in-range motion. I'm going to just lean forward, come back. You can bend the knees slightly, but no more than that. And this is the action of a hip hinge. I mean, this is really all the motion we're ever going to need. And, as we get better at this, we're going to be sliding, dumbbells down the knees or, doing a straight leg deadlift. And, with the same purpose in mind, to teach the single leg hip hinge, I'm going to employ the same tactics. So I'm going to keep this on my back. I'm just leaning forward and coming back. Just make sure the client knows to actively push the foot up behind them. Foot stays straight. The foot should stay in line with the bar as opposed to turning out and over. We should see very little rotation of the torso. If you find that the client's foot or kind of hip is turning out this way, it's kind of externally rotating, cue them to twist the foot in and just keep everything straight. Position the next to a mirror so they can watch themselves. And just come up to the point where they're able to stay straight. I mean, once they start to round off or compensate in some way, that's the extent of their hip hinge. Some will have better than others, kind of based upon hip ability. Now, once the clients have basic proficiency in this hip hinge, and this is something that we would incorporate into their warm-up, all right, we're going to start to load them in different patterns. All right, and to begin with, I'm just going to demonstrate a double leg hip hinge. And for this, what we're going to start out with is just to employ a 30-pound sandbag. And what I like about the sandbag is the grip is very easy. It's something that they can hold on to. It's stable. So what we're going to do is just ask the client to hinge down, slide this down the knees, and hinge back up. Initiate from the hips, slight bend in the knees, down to about the top of the shins, and come back up. And really, that is the exercise. We're not going to go very high rep with this, but we want to make sure that there's a nice arch or a slight arch in the client's back. Everything is flat. If you find that the client is rounding at any point in the spine, they've gone too far down, or we might need to use an alternative exercise. Once we progress through the bag progression here, we're going to move to a dumbbell progression. All right. And again, same rules apply. The only difference is that we're holding kind of two objects rather than one. So I'm just going to stick my chest out. I'm going to make my back flat like a table. Shoulder blades back. Picking a spot about 10 degrees in front of me here, hinging down to the point where right before I start to round and I'm coming back up. So maybe right below my kneecaps and I'm coming back up. Slight knee bend as I come down, but no more than that. Okay, and again, position the client next to a mirror. Let them watch themselves, maybe in front of a mirror. But again, and do not load this up excessively if it's somebody with lower back problems or someone that would be inappropriate. Now from here, the next progression would be to a single leg. All right, so we're going to start out with the single leg deadlifting progression here. And what I'm going to do is I'm holding a kettlebell or a dumbbell in the opposite leg. I like a kettlebell to begin with here. It's just easier to hold. The grip is a little bit easier. Just facing forward, same rules apply as when we were teaching the hip hinge. I just kind of want to hinge down to a point that I'm comfortable with. I'm pressing that back leg up behind me, pausing at the bottom and coming back up. What you can also do is utilize a step to hinge down to, so I would place the kettlebell down on a step and I'd come back up. The client, throughout this exercise, I'm asking the client, where are you feeling this? All right, if they're getting this in their hip, that's a great thing. That's what we want. If they're feeling it anywhere else, their low back, their upper back, we want to regress this or change it in some fashion. All right, so again, actively push that back leg up, hinge to the point that they can without compensating, come back up. All right, and from here, once they've, we've been through a cycle of this, once they demonstrate proficiency of this exercise, our next progression would be to 2 kettlebells on a step. Okay, and again, the step is just providing a little bit of, stability here, a target to drop down to. I'm just going to kind of demonstrate this, get it sideways so you can see me here. Again, I'm starting up into this position. I'm coming down, hip hinging up, actively pressing that back leg up behind me and coming forward. The client can use this as support They can hinge back down, stop, reposition themselves, pause at the bottom, and come back up. And as they become better at this exercise, simply lower this and eventually remove it. All right, for our final progression of this series, okay, we're going to go one arm. So this is a little more unstable. This is something that is going to kind of challenge the client's balance a little bit more, but it's a different emphasis. So again, what I'm doing, pausing at the bottom, coming back up. Pausing at the bottom, pressing my back leg up behind me, keeping everything straight, and coming back up. Now when we're looking for more of a strength effect, the progression from there, the final progression, would be a single leg barbell deadlift. All right? And with that, really the same rules apply. We can also hinge down to several boxes in the same fashion we would a deadlift, or we could just move to the barbell. But for this, we can really load this up pretty well. We need to make sure though that the client has pretty good balance and proprioception. If they do not, they will fall on their face. So really be careful with that. Again, I'm just hinging up behind me, pausing and coming back up. And that is your peak fitness, single leg and double leg, reverse straight leg deadlift progression.